Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're all doing great. Today we've got a brand new manhwa that's packed with excitement, twists, and some seriously cool moments. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. So before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and stick around till the end because this story, it's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. All right, no more waiting. Let's jump right into the story. The story starts on a bridge in the middle of a city. A man is shouting at a girl standing on the edge of the bridge, surrounded by people trying to warn her that she might fall to her death. Suddenly, she hears them talking about someone in the water, someone who somehow crossed to the other side. Everyone rushes toward the girl to see what's going on. She looks down and sees a block of ice floating in the river. Inside it, there's a frozen man. We jump back in time to a cliff above a waterfall. A girl stands at the edge saying, "I have nowhere else to go." Meanwhile, a group of ninja warriors attacks our protagonist, who is protecting the girl. He blocks their attacks all at once, muttering, "So this is how it ends. It's been 3 or 4 days. All I can smell is blood." With one swift motion, he knocks back the 5 warriors attacking him. Then, with a single slash of his sword, he cuts down trees and finishes off the enemies. He turns to the girl and says, "Don't worry, I took care of them all." In front of him lies a massacre, dozens of fallen warriors. A masked man steps forward and says, 300 warriors at once. I can't believe you turned the waterfall red with their blood. I'm truly impressed. You really deserve the title of the greatest swordsman in Swordsman Ryu. But I can see death in your eyes. You must have known this was your last fight. That poisoned blade pushed your body beyond its limit. What a waste. Was she really worth dying for? The girl starts crying, but our protagonist thinks to himself, she shouldn't cry. I promised to protect her. Suddenly, the masked man lunges at him with his daggers, but instead of dodging, our protagonist throws his sword away and lets himself get stabbed. He grabs the masked man, and together they fall into the waterfall. As they plunge into the water, he rips off the man's mask and gasps, "I want to see your face." His eyes widen in shock. "Okion, so it's you." Okion smirks. "You seem satisfied. You won, right?" And then everything goes black. Inside a top-secret research facility, a group of scientists gathers around our unconscious protagonist. The director, Young, asks, "Which time period did he come from?" "From the Goryeo Kingdom era," someone replies. Young frowns. "Looks like we've discovered a world of frozen humans." The protagonist is tied to a hospital bed. One of Young's assistants asks, "Do we really have to keep him restrained like this? What if he gets angry?" A scientist scoffs, "Just wait until you see his data. His body isn't like the humans of this time. We have a lot more tests to run, but so far the results make no sense." The assistant hesitates. "I mean, shouldn't we treat him better? This could be considered a gift from our ancestors." Young chuckles. "A gift, huh? The boss thinks so too. But is he really a gift or a disaster? We won't know until he wakes up." At that moment, the protagonist's eyes snap open. In a split second, he breaks free from the restraints and attacks the assistant. Meanwhile, in the city streets, a man and his girlfriend are in a car when they see something unbelievable. A man running at an insane speed, overtaking their car even though they're driving at full speed. Shocked, the driver swerves, losing control and crashing the car. The protagonist keeps running as bystanders stop to stare, recording him on their phones. He wonders, is this a dream? I suddenly woke up in a completely different world. But if this isn't a dream, then what is it? Flashes of his past flood his mind, protecting the girl, fighting for his life. Suddenly, police cars surround him. Officers step out, ordering him to stop. One officer pushes the crowd back. 2 officers step forward, ready to arrest our protagonist. One of them calls out, ordering him to come quietly, warning that resistance will only make things worse. At that moment, the protagonist recalls his fall into the waterfall with Okion. Suddenly, the officers grab him. He thinks to himself, there's only one possibility. This must be one of Okion's tricks. This has to be an illusion. They're trying to trap me with mind techniques. Without hesitation, he throws the officers into the air. More police try to subdue him with tasers, but he grabs the wires with his fingers, unfazed. They're using lightning energy, he mutters in disbelief. Electricity surges through him as the officers unload their tasers on him. One officer tells his partner to check if he's restrained, But just as the officer approaches, the protagonist rips the wires from his back, snatches their weapons, and makes his escape. Still convinced this is a dream, he attacks the officers, smashing them against police cars. The crowd gasps in shock as officers fly through the air. Backup arrives. SWAT teams flood the streets. I need to escape this illusion, the protagonist thinks. To do that, I have to find the key hidden in this world. The SWAT team orders civilians to clear the area. But before they can react, the protagonist stomps the ground, cracking the pavement and sending their armored vehicles flying. He leaps onto a nearby building, leaving the SWAT commander stunned. Meanwhile, at the National Intelligence Headquarters, Director Jung shouts into his phone, "What the hell is going on?" Jung responds, "I'm sorry, sir. We were prepared, but we never expected him to be this powerful." Jung scoffs. "The police and SWAT are completely useless. This is turning into a disaster." Jung sighs. "It's clear now. This being is on a whole different level than us." The protagonist stands on a rooftop scanning the city. Meanwhile, Jung is still furious. "So that's all you have to say? You gonna tell that to the president too?" In a car nearby, a man watches the breaking news about the protagonist. He smirks and says, "No need to panic. I'll take responsibility. In the end, this is just a man from the past. Against modern firepower, he won't stand a chance." Suddenly, the streets fill with tanks, armored vehicles, and helicopters. They surround the protagonist. He takes off his torn-up shirt. On the rooftop, special forces take their positions, aiming their weapons at him. Their commander calls out, "Warrior from Goryeo, is this really your full strength?" The protagonist steps to the side, picks up a broomstick, and snaps it in half. He grips it like a sword and says, "If this is how it is, then I'll fight you with everything I have." The commander laughs. "You're joking, right? You really think you can win? All right then, let me show you what real power looks like." He fires a bullet between the protagonist's feet. "This is a gun, a weapon that makes warriors like you completely powerless. If you resist, you die." The protagonist tightens his grip on the stick. "Let's see who dies first," the commander smirks. "All right, tough guy, try this." Just then, a voice from a helicopter commands, "Stand down." No one moves. A man descends from the helicopter. He orders the soldiers to stay on high alert. Then he approaches the protagonist and says, "Apologies for the smiles." He smiles. "I am Jikan, the leader of this country." The soldiers lower their weapons. The protagonist narrows his eyes. "Leader? You mean king?" Jikan chuckles. "You could say that. First, let me apologize for the rough welcome. Welcome to the future. For you, at least. But for us, this is the present. This place is called South Korea, and I'm sure we have a lot to talk about." He extends his hand for a handshake. The protagonist looks around. "A comfortable place, huh?" He reaches out. But instead of shaking Jikan's hand, he grips the broomstick and in one swift motion slashes Jikan's head clean off. With cold determination, he mutters, "So you were the key to escaping this illusion." And then the guy in the helicopter screams, "The president's head got cut off. Everyone, open fire." But suddenly, the president raises his hand, telling them to stop. He touches his neck, looking shocked, and his men rush over, asking if he's okay. He reassures them, but he still feels like his head was actually cut off. He starts questioning himself, wondering if what just happened was a mistake. That's when our hero hears his thoughts and responds, "No, this isn't an illusion. On high, the greatest sorcerer of Goryeo made it real." The president, confused, asks, "What did you say?" since he couldn't hear over the wind. Meanwhile, our hero is thinking, "Why would she make me see things that don't make sense?" He recalls everything that happened since he woke up and starts doubting if this is an illusion at all. So this place is real? Later, at the president's private hideout, food is placed in front of them, and the president invites our hero to eat. But he ignores the food and asks, "Where are we?" The president explains that this is a secret base and that they had to bring him here for security reasons. He insists again, "Come on, eat something. Try the new food." Our hero looks at the food and simply says, "Food is just food." The president laughs. "So you've finally accepted your situation, huh? Look, we're 800 years ahead of your time. You can relax now. Thanks to modern medicine, you're even able to move again." Our hero replies, "The injuries I had should have killed me in my time. I survived because of this era, but that means the kingdom of Goryeo is gone." The president nods. I don't know how you feel, but don't worry. We'll provide everything you need to adjust to this world. In return, I just need one small favor. Then he calls over Jung, the head of intelligence, who turns on the TV. A reporter is interviewing random people about our hero. Some say it felt like watching a movie. He was running as fast as cars, flying through the air. Another reporter confirms, yes, this is the same man found frozen in the river. He's a superhuman. But in the end, it was all just a movie. Our hero frowns. What are they talking about? The president explains, we can't tell people the truth. The world isn't ready to know someone like you exists. Think about it. Someone who was frozen for centuries, still alive, that's not just long life. That's an insane evolution. You know how many countries tried to achieve that? But no one succeeded. The key is resurrection technology. We don't have it yet, but now we have you. Then he gets serious. For the future of this country, for the future generations, let us study your body. Our hero immediately stands up, furious. The president looks surprised as our hero heads toward the door. You think I agreed to live in this time? But as he reaches the exit, he finds guards blocking his way. They grab him, restraining him. The president sighs. I understand, but if that's the case, we're going to have to do this the hard way. Suddenly, the guards fire tranquilizer darts at our hero. One of them thinks, if he resisted police electricity, there's no way he can resist this. But to his shock, a strange aura appears around our hero's back, and the darts just fall off him. Then, with just a slight movement, our hero sends the guards flying. Everyone, including the president, is stunned. I'm leaving, our hero says. The president, realizing there's no other choice, shouts, increase the power, we can't let him escape. Outside the hideout, our hero is surrounded by more guards with electric batons. One of them swings at him, but he dodges with ease. Another guard warns, you should have cooperated. The moment this baton touches you, you'll feel like you're dying. Then, a guard strikes him in the back with a baton that's 10 times stronger than the police tasers. But suddenly, our hero moves at an unbelievable speed, so fast that he completely disappears. The guards attack, but he slips through them effortlessly. They all stare at him in disbelief. He's not even fighting, he's just moving through us like we're nothing. Finally, he reaches the gates of the hideout. Back inside, the president looks frustrated. He escaped, just like that. There's no way we can capture him by force. Jung sighs, maybe we need another approach. The president asks, did you find his location? One of the guards reports, he's not an ordinary person. It'll take time to track him. But at that moment, another soldier runs in. We found him! The president's eyes widen. Where? The soldier replies, the easiest place to find him, the rooftop of the tallest building in the city. We see our hero standing on top of the skyscraper as a helicopter flies above him. The president watches him on a screen and mutters, unbelievable. Meanwhile, our hero jumps off the building. As he's falling, he thinks, so this is reality. But this reality means nothing to me. The reason I was alive is gone. There's no one left to protect. No one left to fight. There's no reason for me to exist in this world. I should have died back then. That should have been my ending. But then, while falling, he sees a billboard ad. And on that ad, he sees a man who looks exactly like Okeon. His eyes widen in shock. Okeon. Our hero suddenly remembers, back then, he was standing in front of the palace, protecting that girl. Okeon looked at him and sneered, Rio, all you care about is saving that lowly girl? Look around you. Your whole family has fallen into the illusion. They're killing each other. And now, the moon has risen. The destruction has begun. On the rooftop, Okeon stands with Anhwai, watching as the palace burns, bodies scattered everywhere. He smirks. I will crush everything beneath my feet. Back in the present, our hero is still falling, thinking about how he already defeated Okeon and how he can use this future to his advantage. Just before hitting the ground, he reaches out his hand, and with his aura, he slows himself down, stopping just above the street. Landing gently, he looks at the billboard again, the man in the ad. Meanwhile, at the presidential office, the president is in shock after hearing that our hero jumped from the rooftop. Find his body, he orders. But the guards report, Sir, his body, it's gone. The president is confused. What do you mean gone? One of the guards explains. We found someone who saw him, and he said the guy asked about actor Yun. Of course, everyone in Korea knows Yun. He's a global action star. Started acting as a kid. Every director in the world wants to work with him, and he's insanely popular. His looks, his talent, everything about him makes people love him. Because of that, his company's stock price has skyrocketed, and he's basically at the top of the country. We see a young boy telling all this to our hero. You don't know Yun. He's a legend. Our hero stays quiet, comparing Yun's face to Okeon's. They're complete opposites, but since I'm in this timeline, there are two possibilities. Either this actor just looks like him, or he is him. He looks at the boy and asks, "Where is he? I need to meet him now." The kid laughs. "No way! You think you can just walk up to a superstar like him? If you want to meet him, go wait at the airport, but you'll be waiting a long time." Ryo clenches his fist. His energy surges, and with just a small burst, he shatters the billboard screen. The kid falls to the ground in shock. Our hero looks down at him and says, "I just need to know where he is. I won't hurt you." The kid stammers, but, there's no way to meet him quickly. Yun is out of the country right now. Meanwhile, in America, Yun is on a movie set, filming a scene. An American actor steps up, punches him in the face, and growls, "This place isn't for people like you. Get out!" Yun stumbles, blinks in confusion, then laughs. "Sorry, I forgot my line." The director sighs. "Come on, James. How many times are you going to forget your part?" Yun's getting frustrated. Yun turns to James. "Listen, James, next time punch me on the other side. If you keep hitting me from the same angle, I won't be able to say my line properly." Just then, the chandelier above them creaks, the chain snaps, the massive light fixture comes crashing down right toward James. Everyone freezes in shock. But before anyone can react, Yun moves like lightning, diving forward and shoving James out of the way. The chandelier smashes into the ground, missing them both by inches. The crew rushes in. "Yun, are you okay?" He nods. "Yeah, I'm fine. That was close." The director decides to call it a day. Yun apologizes for the delay, saying he needs to visit the hospital. Later, at the hospital, Yun is sitting with his manager, Hung. Hyung shakes his head. "You're insane. How the hell did you move that fast?" Yun looks at his hands, confused. "I don't know. I just reacted." They glance at the pile of gifts sent by the crew. Yun decides to give them away to the other hospital patients, saying, "I don't need all this stuff. Your health comes first, you know? Good thing your injury isn't serious," but Yun looks up. "But what?" Hyung hesitates, then finally tells him. Yun's eyes widen in shock. Back at the presidential office, the president is saying goodbye to his staff for the day. He enters his office, exhausted, but as soon as he steps inside, a voice speaks from the shadows. "I've been waiting for you." The president freezes. He turns and sees. His heart pounds. "Ryo, I knew it. You really are unbelievable. You're the only one who can break into this place so easily. Looks like you're doing well. You scared the hell out of me yesterday." Ryo steps forward. "So, is your offer to cooperate still open?" The president smirks. "Of course. What do you need?" Ryo places a photo on the desk. "It's about him. I need to meet him immediately. No questions." The president leans back, thinking. Then he extends his hand and says, "If you promise to cooperate, I can make that happen." Ryo stares at the outstretched hand, remembering his past. In Goryeo, we didn't shake hands. But after a moment, he steps forward and shakes it. Ryo stood in front of the door and asked, "When am I going to meet him?" The president replied, "You want this to happen fast, huh?" "But Ryo, even though I'm the president, traveling that far takes time. But anyway, let's go inside. He's already here." Inside the office, Yeon and his team were waiting. They greeted the president as he walked in. Meanwhile, Ryo was thinking, was this really Yeon or was it Okun? Yeon thanked the president for inviting him so quickly and checked on his injured hand. "I'm good, Mr. President. Thanks for asking. Just a small accident at work. It's an honor to meet you." That's when Ryo stepped forward, extended his hand, and said, "The name's Ryo." Yeon and his team looked shocked. Yeon said, "Oh, so you're the guy the president was talking about? I'm really happy to meet you. I'm Yeon. I heard we're going to be in a video together." "That's awesome. I'm honored." The president smiled and said, "Now that you know each other, let's sit down and talk." Then he excused himself, saying he needed to use the restroom. As soon as he left the office, one of the guards approached him and whispered, "The troops are ready." Back in the office, Ryo and Yun sat at the table while the rest of the team left for a break. Yun took a sip of his tea and said, "Man, the tea in this palace tastes different. Here, have some." Ryo didn't respond, so Yun continued, "Ryo, so you're really alive, huh? You don't look too happy to see me." Ryo narrowed his eyes. "You think this is a joke?" Yun sighed. "It's been a long time, hasn't it, Swordmaster Ryo?" Ryo was deep in thought. Okun was a master at hiding his chi, but if he had learned this skill, it meant something wasn't right. Ryo needed answers. "How long have you been in the future?" Yun laughed. "Dude, how would I even pull something like that off?" Ryo clenched his fists. "One last question. Answer me honestly. Where is the girl?" Yun's face turned serious. "Hey man, don't talk to me like you're threatening me." He paused, then asked, "You mean the girl you were protecting?" Ryo's eyes darkened. "Is she here or not?" Instead of answering, Yun smirked. That's when Ryo snapped. He unleashed a burst of energy, sending a shockwave through the room. Yun barely managed to shield himself, but the force was so strong that his chair flew back and slammed into the wall, cracking it. Ryo stood up. "I see. I'll find the answer myself." Yun climbed out of the broken wall, dusting himself off. "Man, it's always like this with you, huh? Guess I'll just have to handle it myself." He suddenly activated an illusion spell. From the outside, people will just see two old friends catching up. But inside, well, let's see what happens next. Yun charged at Ryo, but Ryo scoffed. "Enough of this nonsense. You're not Okun. I'll prove it right now." Ryo pulled out a pine cone, crushed it in his hand, and let the pieces fall to the ground. "You did a good job hiding your energy, but you couldn't stop it from leaking when you defended yourself. And this energy, it's not Okun's." That's when Yun's face changed. "You're Onhui." Onhui froze in shock. You figured it out already? But you just woke up not long ago." Ryo's mind flashed back to the day of the rebellion, when he had personally killed Onhui. She dropped her disguise, revealing her true form. "Mr. Okun is a huge deal in this world. I've been impersonating him to take care of some business. You know, he's got big plans, and I report to him every day. Oh, and I'll make sure today's report includes you. This is a massive discovery." Onhai activated her illusion cloning ability, creating 5 copies of herself. "All right, girls, if we capture him and hand him over to Mr. Okun, we'll get a huge reward." The clones all attacked at once, but Ryo moved in an instant, cutting one of them down immediately. Another clone lunged at him, and he took her out just as fast. "You talk too much," he muttered. Onhui frowned, noticing that Ryo was using way too much energy. "At this rate, he's going to destroy himself." But Ryo wasn't stopping. He kept attacking, tearing through each clone with lightning-fast strikes. Soon they were all gone, except for Onhai, who was left wounded. She stared at him in shock, anger boiling inside her. Ryo looked her dead in the eyes and said, "I killed you before." Onhui's eyes widened as Ryo continued, "The day you died, you fell into the waterfall with a fatal wound. So tell me, how the hell did you end up in the future?" Onhui took a deep breath and said, "Honestly, I thought I was dead too. But when I woke up, everything had changed. The whole world was different. I saw myself hundreds of years ahead of the time I knew, and I didn't understand a thing." She clenched her fists. "But in the end, I found out Mr. Okun was the one who brought me here." Ryo narrowed his eyes. "So Okun arrived before you?" Onhui smiled proudly. "Yes, Mr. Okun values me, and I will stay loyal to him until my last breath." As she spoke, she quietly pulled a small stick from her hair. In a flash, she lunged at Ryo, aiming straight for his heart. But at the last second, Ryo blocked her attack with his own staff, knocking her to the ground. He stood over her and said, "You really think Okun saved you?" Onhai glared at him. "Of course he did. What are you trying to say?" Ryo crossed his arms. "How long have you been here?" "A month," she answered. "And when did your body start rotting?" Onhai's eyes widened. "What?" Without a word, Ryo grabbed her shirt and pulled it down slightly from her shoulder. A dark, decaying spot was visible on her skin. "That bastard made you think he saved you," Ryo said coldly. "But in reality, he used a technique that's killing you. You're nothing but a tool to him, and once he's done with you, he'll throw you away." Onhui's hands trembled. "No, that's impossible. Mr. Okun would never do that to me. And besides, I've never even heard of a technique like that." Ryo sighed. Of course you haven't. It's not a normal technique, and in the future, you don't matter enough to be told about it. He looked her straight in the eye. Think about it. Why does he make you do all the dirty work while you're disguised? It's because to him, you're only worth this much. Onhai's vision blurred. For a moment, she imagined the decay spreading across her body like monsters eating away at her flesh. Ryo continued, but there's a way to stop it. You need an injection of internal energy, the exact opposite of the energy in your body. That's the only way to cleanse the rot. He placed his hand over her shoulder and transferred a small amount of his energy into her. Look. Onhai watched in shock as the decayed skin slowly healed. A terrifying thought entered her mind. If Okun was just using her, would he eventually get rid of her? Ryo stepped back. Only 2 people can give you this energy, me and Okun. He crossed his arms. Now it's your choice. Go back to Okun, who will eventually kill you, or stay with the one person who can save you. Onhai silently pulled her shirt back up and stood. After a long pause, she finally said, I want to live. What do you want me to do? Ryo smirked. Just one thing. I want you to be a double agent. Outside the room, a guard was eavesdropping. Suddenly they heard a loud shout. Someone help me! The door burst open and Jan stumbled out, running straight to the president. The president frowned. What happened? Jan panted. Mr. President, you need to leave, now. There's a madman in there. The president and his guards rushed into the office, only to find the place completely wrecked. Ryo stood in the middle of the chaos and casually said, Sorry about the mess. I'll pay for the damages however I can. The president glanced around and smirked. The office isn't important, but I do like taking advantage of situations. We'll talk about compensation later. Are you okay, Mr. Ryo? Ryo nodded. Yeah, I'm fine. What about you, Yon? Yon, still shaken, muttered, I'm fine too. Onhoi watched in disbelief. How is he acting so normal after all that? Ryo stretched and muttered, Glad that's over. I didn't even get to drink my tea. Oh well, I'll save it for next time. But deep down he knew. He needed to talk to Onhui more about Okun. Flashback. A young Ryo stood before his master. What is a bodyguard? The master asked. Ryo answered, Someone who protects people with a sword. The master nodded. Today you won't draw your sword unless it's for protection. Your job is to save people when they're in danger and defend them with your life. Never forget, the one you must protect comes above everything, even above your own life, even above your family. Ryo listened carefully. A person with something to protect doesn't die so easily, the master added. Don't ever forget that, Ryo. Back to the present. Ryo lay on a medical table as doctors examined him. Suddenly, one of the doctors gasped. His condition, it's unstable. The lead researcher, Dr. Yun, hurried over. Are you all right? Ryo sat up. I'm fine. Dr. Yun hesitated. How long do you want us to continue this research? Leon, the head scientist, stepped forward. Thanks to you, we've made incredible progress. If you're too tired, we can continue another time. Ryo nodded and got dressed. I have a promise to keep. In a small dessert shop, Onhui sat at a table, waiting. You're late, Ryo, she said. Ryo shrugged. The president assigned someone to follow me. I had to shake them off. He sat down and started ordering drinks. Onhui frowned. Don't you think this is weird? You don't have money, but you're ordering so much. Ryo grinned. I'm just here to ask questions. He leaned forward. About Okun, I didn't know his true identity until the end. He was part of the family I was supposed to protect. I thought he died in the accident. But when did he start planning his rebellion? Onhui sighed. Okun has a lot of secrets. One of them is about the mask he wears. I just followed his orders, so I don't know everything. Ryo asked, Are we the only 2 who came to the future? Onhui hesitated. I searched everywhere. As far as I know, no one else made it here. Ryo's eyes darkened. Where is Okun? What is he doing? Onhui looked away. He's out of the country. Don't tell me you plan to meet him. He's even stronger than before. Suddenly, Ryo raised his hand slightly. Onhui frowned. What are you looking at? Ryo's eyes locked onto something in the distance. Through the crowd, he spotted Yon, surrounded by his men. Yon's manager leaned in. Is there a problem? Yon smirked. I just saw something interesting. Ryo's expression turned serious. I made a huge mistake. Onhui tilted her head. Huh? Ryo clenched his fists. I need to change the plan. After seeing Okun, he realized he had been blinded by revenge. But there was something more important than that. He turned to Anna and said, Listen carefully. If both of us are here and Okun is too, then this isn't impossible. Ryo's master's words echoed in his mind. A person with something to protect doesn't die so easily. He made his decision. I have to find my lady first. Onhee asks him if he has a way to find her because she doesn't remember what she looks like. Our main guy grabs a pen and tells her not to worry. He's served her for so long that he remembers every detail. He starts drawing a picture. Meanwhile, at a school, a girl walks with her friend under the rain. Her friend calls out, "Hey, An! I told you we should walk together. How can you just leave without your manager?" An tells her she's fine, but her friend gets frustrated. "Look, we're all just students, but you're basically a celebrity now. You've got a fan club, and even some crazy obsessed fans. You can't walk around alone. It's dangerous, like that creepy guy who was hiding in the hallway. Remember him?" They keep chatting about An's videos and how they're getting tons of views. Meanwhile, our main guy and Onhee are watching them from a distance. Onhee asks if he's sure that's her. She checks her phone to look up info about the girl, amazed at how advanced technology is. The main guy smirks. "Looks like we wrapped this up faster than I thought. I figured I'd have to use my inner energy for a whole year." Suddenly, he hears An shouting. Two guys have stopped her, telling her they're heading off to military service and asking for a photo and a hug. An is clearly scared. Up on the rooftop, the main guy and Onhee are still watching. He asks what's going on, and Onhee says, "This doesn't look good." That's when the main guy remembers his lady, the delicate, fragile flower who was actually born into a wealthy family. She was always crying, and when she got sick, it was always serious. Before he knows it, he jumps down from the rooftop. One of the guys gets too close to An, trying to hug her. She looks terrified. Onhee watches in shock, and suddenly the two fans are knocked out, lying on the ground, beaten. An stands there like nothing happened. Guys, this woman wasn't weak. In the end, she was a ruler. The main guy walks up to her. She looks at him and moves closer. He says, "Sorry, I'm really late today. It's freezing. Here, wear this." He takes off his jacket for her, but she suddenly punches him in the stomach. He looks at her, confused. "Finally," she says. "After all this time." He blinks, then nods. "Yeah, it's been a really long time." An stares at him. "You're Sasang, aren't you?" The main guy freezes, worried she's lost her memories. Then An's friend comes over and asks, "Wait, aren't you one of An's fans?" An apologizes, saying she mistook him for someone else. At that moment, two of her managers show up. They grab the main guy, trying to get rid of him, but they can't move him at all. An's friend tells them, "Hey, those two guys on the ground are the real crazy fans, not him." The main guy is shocked. This girl, she looks exactly like his lady. The managers take the knocked out fans away, and An and her friend leave with them. An's friend asks her, "Who was that long-haired guy?" An replies, "I don't know, but he seems like someone with a deep, sad story." Later, deep in the forest, the main guy and Onhee stand in front of a grave. He asks if this is where his lady was buried. Onhee looks at the grave, shocked at how much time has passed. She was the one who looked up the history of the main guy's lady and found out that she was officially recorded as having died during a rebellion. Her belongings were stored in this grave. The main guy kneels, screams, and punches the ground. He remembers falling with Akion and saying, "If we made it this far, then I've already won." But now he realizes his desire to protect her broke the golden rules. He was supposed to live through everything. He clenches his teeth, blood dripping from his mouth. He wants to die. He hates himself for what happened. Onhee watches him, thinking he's like a river overflowing, like a mountain shaking. Now that he knows his lady is truly gone, maybe he'll start thinking about the little girl. Meanwhile, An walks into an office, laughing and playing around. "The little flower has arrived," she jokes. But then she notices something weird. "Wait, why is no one here? Did they go bankrupt or something?" A guy sleeping on the couch responds, "What are you talking about? Even if I'm the only one left, I won't abandon this agency." An frowns. "Wait, you're sleeping here? You left your house for this?" Turns out this guy is Deok, the director of SD Agency, an agency with only one employee. Deok sighs. "Anyway, you showed up just in time. Can you make me some food?" An glares at him. "Dude, I'm literally the only famous person in this agency. Actually, I'm the only person here at all. I haven't even gotten enough views yet, and now you want me to cook for you?" Deok gets up, confused. Why is she acting like this? Then he smirks. Fine, but only if you make a plate for yourself too. She asks if there's any news about work, since she heard her video went viral and reached a lot of people. He tells her to wait a bit longer because everyone's losing their minds over the guy who recently appeared. An says he's just trying to avoid answering like always, but he insists he's serious this time. She teases him, saying that if they were racing at school, she'd be way faster than him. Then she mentions how good the teachers are. Meanwhile, Duke is on the phone, completely ignoring An. Once he finishes his call, he finally tells her he got her a job, an interview with OB Entertainment. An gets super excited because she knows how much that company pays. She heads to the meeting spot, but is surprised to see it's a bar. She's still underage, so she's confused. The place doesn't seem open yet, and she wonders why such a big production company would have meetings in a bar. But then she thinks, that's probably why the boss sent me alone. Someone from inside calls her over. She walks into a private room and sits down with them. After greeting her, one of the guys pours a drink and offers it to her. She politely declines, saying she can't drink because she's underage. One of the men laughs, while the other says she doesn't have to force herself and offers her water instead. An feels a little uneasy, but takes the water and drinks it. They tell her not to be nervous and that this is just a casual work introduction, not a formal interview. She reminds herself that this is a great opportunity and she can't afford to mess it up. Then one of the guys suddenly puts his hand on her shoulder. He leans in and says, "You get what I'm saying, right? Let's start getting close now." He smirks. "I know you've had a rough time, but starting today, you'll be working and making some good money, and we'll make things real easy for you. Sounds nice, huh?" It's obvious now. He's harassing her. An jumps up and cusses him out, telling him that even if he offered her a mansion, she wouldn't take the job. She storms out, but suddenly, everything starts spinning. Before she can react, she collapses to the floor. The men continue drinking casually. One of them turns to another guy with black hair and asks, "So Director Shion, does she taste good?" An is completely shocked. She realizes she was drugged. The men laugh at her reaction. Shion smirks. Everyone knows Duke got played. Honestly, I find this whole thing hilarious. So who's really going to care? He leans back. She went down from just one sip, and she even called out to Duke like he's her savior. How pathetic. He chuckles. Am I wrong? I bet he's reading the script right now, thinking this is his big break after getting fired. And she? Kids like her don't let go of their dreams so easily, so we'll just use that dream to our advantage. Meanwhile, one of the employees calls someone and reports that everything's going smoothly. No problems at all. Cut to the president's mansion. Our main character is walking through the garden, staring at the moon. He clenches his fists and mutters to himself, "My lady, the only thing left for me is revenge. I'll destroy everything for you, and then we'll die together." And that's a wrap for today's story. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. But hey, this is just the beginning. There's more to come. So don't forget to subscribe to catch the next part as soon as it drops. Oh, and of course, smash that like button to show some love. All right, that's it for now. See you in the next video.